Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. With the time being 6:00 p.m. on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order. As a reminder, on March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law to enable public bodies to carry out their responsibilities while adhering to public health recommendations regarding social distancing. The executive order relieves public bodies from the requirement in the open meeting law that meetings be conducted in a public place that's open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provisions to ensure public access to the deliberations through adequate alternative means. In this case, we're utilizing Zoom and have listed information for joining the meeting on the school district website. As another reminder, this meeting is being recorded, both video and audio, and will be posted on the school district website. So to begin this evening, I will entertain a motion to move into an executive session according to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy for negotiations with Webster Educators Association and the Webster Cafeteria Workers.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naparata,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. So what that means for everyone else that's joining us is that we are going to move into an executive session and we'll return back to the meeting in open session. While we're in executive session, we'll be moving into a breakout room and the members of the public won't be able to join us for that. While we're gone, we are going to shut off everyone's cameras and microphones and hope that we can pause the recording. But just as a forewarning for those of you who will remain, if the recording is not able to be paused, keep your conversations to a minimum because this is a business meeting that will be recorded and part of our record moving forward. So we will now move into executive session to return in open session shortly.
Okay. Just finding everybody. Lori. Suzanne.
Thank you, Monique, for doing this. This is different with the world that we're living in right now. So
Let's see.
take your time.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Maybe not.
We will now be resuming our meeting in open session. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 9th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
It's a motion for the minutes. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Lori, there's a motion and a second. Could you pull the committee, please?
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Member Naparata,
Yes.
and Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Dr. Gogan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I will start with my quick personnel update. I would like to let you know that we've hired Teresa Comley as a lunchroom monitor over at Park Avenue Elementary School. We have received the resignation from Leslie Baker, our Director of Adult Education, for a March 19th date. We're working collaboratively with Leslie to fill that position and organize the adult education program. With regards to the Bartlett High School education visioning process, we've been very busy. I'd like to give you an update on that. As you know, we have two teams working on this, an educational visioning team comprised of administration and teachers and staff. Those meetings are being led by David Stevens, and we've had two meetings to date to talk about learning objectives and spaces and priorities. We have two more meetings with David Stevens next week with that larger committee. We started out by having each department send updated information on what their existing programs look like. And Mr. Stevens put together a presentation and the beginning phases of what each department would like to see their departments to look like. The educational leadership team is definitely the central office staff and the administration from Bartlett. And we've been meeting several times a week to begin the actual template for this that is due in April. We've had multiple meetings to really dig deeper into the advanced manufacturing and health and human care services to really outline the specific course offerings and how those specific course offerings are going to impact the spaces that we're going to need. And then the third step of that is how will these programs that we're anticipating putting in place grow over the years. So part of the difficulty with all of this is that we have to move out of what we're doing presently, and we have to envision the possibility of different types of pathways, and then sort of set up spaces for them. And the architects are going to work with us on that. So it is a difficult process because sometimes we get grounded in looking at just what we're doing. And it's a creative process, but we're working through it. And I know the Bartlett administration will be working with the ILT members to ensure their involvement in envisioning what potential future courses can be rolled into pathways at Bartlett High School. Any questions on that before I move forward? I will let you know that we received the Department of Education Transportation update, which is in your packet. And the update has lessened the space distancing. Masks and opening windows are still required, but the capacity and physical distancing requirement for elementary have been lifted. The capacity limitations and physical distancing for middle and high school are only lifted in communities where there is a low prevalence of COVID. At this point, that's not us yet, but in cases where there are high prevalences of COVID in the community, the middle and high school capacity and physical limitations are amended to allow 2 students per seat bench. What does that all mean for us? Well, right now we are not spending any additional money on busing, and we are adhering to our original safety guidelines on the buses when we can. We appreciate that they've lifted the guidance, and in some situations we may go with that, but right now we are able to fit all of our students on our buses because many of our parents do drive, and some of our parents have opted to stay in remote. And that leads me to a little bit of our hybrid update. We are constantly monitoring our safety protocols and the effectiveness of our communication and our quick response time and contact tracing. And in an effort to ensure that all of our open seats are filled, which they are, there are waiting lists at some of our schools to get students back in. We have sent out notices to families that have students in either cohort A, B, or C, and those students are not attending for their in-person days, to find out from parents if they've changed their mind and are moving to a full remote, and to allow for another student who may want to come in to come in. We're not sending those notices to anyone who's been out due to COVID-related issues. So families have received those letters. I know that Bartlett High School continues to invite students in to fill their seats. I think at this point, 40 additional students have returned for in-person learning into the different cohorts. We are continuing to review the guidance, and as recent as today at 12 o'clock, the Commissioner of Education has come out with some updates, and I will briefly explain those updates. It looks like the Commissioner of Education is trying to get permission from his board to grant him authority so that he can determine when hybrid and remote models no longer count for time on learning. He's aiming to return students to in-person learning assuming that the state metrics and community metrics continue to improve. And his goal is to get all elementary students back in school 5 days a week this April. This is his goal. There have been no votes on that yet. I do have a superintendent's meeting with the commissioner tomorrow, so I'll know more information about that. I will continue to keep everyone informed as I get information. And I will remind everyone that the Department of Education has guidelines that are in alignment with CDC with 6 feet distancing. The only difference is that DESE does say 3 to 6 feet, and 6 feet when feasible. So the other piece of information in accordance to making sure that all of our seats are filled and keeping up with the changes is we are taking a closer look at the number of kindergarten open seats and the possibility of having more kindergarten students come in with still abiding by the 6 feet distancing. And Mrs. Parmley is in the beginning process of looking at that with her kindergarten teachers. Any questions on that before I move forward?
Certainly lots of developments.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mrs. Blythe.
I just have one question, Dr. Gogan, on the transportation. Do you know, because I can't find it, what the actual guidance is that for it to, for us to be able to increase the amount of students we have? I know we don't need to right now, but I know our community is at a little bit of a higher COVID rate. Do you know, is there an exact rate? Is there guidance around that? I just couldn't find it. And if not, that's okay.
I don't off the top of my head, but oftentimes with when new guidance comes out, there's a lot of different questions. I think when there's no answers, they say they refer it back to the community and you make the best decision that you can. Certainly they lifted the social distancing requirements in communities, but they're throwing in that if you have a community of high risk, you can abide by these. I think as things shift, we'll know more information. This entire year has been filled with these mixed messages and changing rules and regulations. And we continue to do our best, 1, to keep everybody safe, 2, to be transparent with the information that we're receiving, and 3, make accurate decisions that are going to benefit our students and our staff. So I will ask that question tomorrow when I speak with the commissioner.
Thank you.
Are there any questions, any other, questions or comments from the committee?
Okay, I'm going to move on to our sports update. We have a very special visitor here tonight. I would like to find Mr. Brandon on the screen. There he is. Well, Brandon, we'd love to congratulate you in public for reaching your 1,000 basketball career point. What a wonderful accomplishment. And I know Coach Peranto would love to say a few words about you as an athlete in Bartlett. We're here to celebrate you, and I'm going to pass it over to Coach Peranto.
Thank you, Dr. Gogan. Yes, it was quite an accomplishment for Brandon. He is now the 16th member of the boys 1,000 point club. Brandon's outstanding career was culminated with his 1,000 point to the second to last game of the season. He just been a true ambassador to our school system as well as our basketball team. Obviously, in the athletic world, it's a great milestone and something that he'll be able to remember for the rest of his life. And he's just a great kid, as well as a great human being for our school system, and we're very proud of him.
Congratulations, Brandon. I heard there was some celebratory surprise for you when you walked outside of the gym.
It was a parade. I was surprised for sure, but thank you guys for recognizing me.
Oh, Brandon,
faded-
sorry, Dr. Gogan, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
On behalf of the committee, I want to congratulate you on a very successful, not only senior year, but basketball career. And during a year that has presented so many challenges and a shorter season, maybe, or at least a different season. You persevered, and we're really proud of you. You should be very proud of
Thank
yourself.
you.
Nice work, Brandon. Thank you so much for attending. And we miss the days when we were all together to personally give you a handshake and can congratulate you. So keep up the good work. Webster Pride is with you. We're going to share a little bit about our sports updates. I'll do a quick snapshot, and Mr. Peranto, you can jump in anytime you want. We've started our Real Madrid basketball program over at Webster Middle School. Again, that's a program for second language learners. And a huge shout out again goes to Dr. Mackay and our family liaison, Margarita Nieves, for assisting with orchestrating another Zoom meeting to get students to be involved in this new program. Mr. Peranto and Coach Bankston are participating in very specialized training with this program. And it is time consuming and it's different. So they're learning new things. It's not just about basketball. I know that the work that they have all done together, we have to date, I believe 27 students signed up. Mr. Peranto, you want to add anything about Real Madrid?
No, it's a brand new program. It's very new to us. I think it's going to be a outstanding program for us for the future moving forward. Getting the kids to sign up. Like you said, we have 27 kids that are interested in the program, and now we just need to get them there. We started the program up on Monday with a few kids. We're still chasing paperwork and whatnot. But in any new program, obviously, we knew that we were going to have some hurdles to overcome. But we are very much looking forward to this basketball program. I think it's going to be great for the kids to learn the values of, competitive as well as non-competitive atmosphere, just getting them out there and introducing them to a sport and getting them out there running around is going to be great. And then we'll also have the soccer program that's going to be starting up on April 26th. That has a lot of interest going with that with the kids at the middle school. So it's a program moving forward. It's a program that, myself and you really worked diligently with this thing to get it going. We thank MapFree for helping us with this program. Annalise from the Real Madrid program. I was on a meeting with her for about an hour today, a conference call. And it was nice to speak to the person that we've seen in all the emails right now. So like I said, everything is going great right now. And we're just looking for more people to participate. And I think that we'll get that as the future goes on.
Thank you. Our Webster Middle School and basketball cheerleading will be starting on March 1st. We have Coach Stephanie Paletta and Coach Kim Morris for those teams. I'm not going to talk about the end of the year Webster Middle School. I'll let Mrs. Peterson in her report. Bartlett High School volleyball starts on March 1st. Thank Coach Peter Twagar and varsity coach Barry Berthew. And football will start at the Webster Middle School on March 1st with Coach Greg Spitz and Coach Kashawn Hampton. And I failed to start off with saying that Bartlett High School football has already started with Coach Dane L. So as we're talking a little bit about sports and that we're trying to get some programs to really re-engage our students, you're going to hear a little bit later on from Mrs. Barris, but we are posting other extracurricular activities for our students to start to get re-engaged in. So I'll talk a little bit about that later. In my other updates, I have completed another Time on Learning survey for the Department of Education. Just pointing out that we have had a consistent program since the beginning of the year. We've not been a district that's changed our school model where students have had 5.5 hours of time on learning at all of our schools. I would like to let you know that the VA New England healthcare system is partnering with the Department of Education, and they reached out to superintendents to see if there were any veteran educators that might want to get on a list to be vaccinated sooner rather than later. We had 3 people willing for me to give their names. I have passed their names along. Hopefully they will receive a call to get vaccinated. In the world of professional development, we're still continue to work with Rebus Consultants and our Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School administration. They're working really at taking a deeper dive on lesson planning in the blended learning environment and how to make sure that students maintain some engagement. This work is aligned to the TAG grants that we have for each of those schools. We have some ELL parent advisories and a CPAC parent advisory coming up. And those are on February 24th. We have 2 ELL meetings. One is at 11 a.m. and another at 7 p.m. And the CPAC meeting is also February 24th, and that is at 6 p.m. We've been pretty busy with grants. I'm pleased to let you know, as you may or may not remember, Park Ave received the ST Math grant that we wrote. They're in their 2nd year of a 3-year grant. And Webster Middle School is 5th grade and 6th grade has access to the ST Math grant this year through a grant from Mass Math Grant. But we have written a new grant. There's 2 parts to it, Part A and Part B, for Webster Middle School to continue having ST Math. It's a supplementary program. We were just informed that Part A was approved, and we are working on Part B. And in the grants world, you're going to hear later on from Mrs. Perangeli with regards to how we've spent our summary. She'll report out how we've spent our CARES money. She'll report out on a summary. And I'd like to ask Dr. Mackay to talk a little bit about the ASOS grant that she is currently writing.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. The ASOS grant is a grant that funds after school and out of school time activities. And currently we have the before and after school program with very limited students given the cohorts. So we have applied today for this ASOS grant, which will enhance our current program. And our enhancement includes adding instructional support as one of the goals is to meet the needs of students who may have suffered some learning loss or some challenges with learning during remote and the closure last year. And so we're proposing adding some instructional supports and academic support to the after school program. And we're excited to have received word from Boys and Girls Club who are willing to participate with us and partner with us. As you may know, the Boys and Girls Club is offering childcare services during the day on the remote days. So our students are at the Boys and Girls Club. Some of our students are at the Boys and Girls Club during the day on devices being supervised by the club staff. And they have 2 pods. They have an elementary pod and a middle school pod, and they're doing what they can to support the students in the remote learning on their remote days. So our proposal is to also add instructional support at Boys and Girls Club to facilitate and address some of the issues that the club staff may not be able to meet instructionally. And so we're excited about this. They're very excited about this potential partnership if we get this grant. And we look forward to more opportunities. We'll be looking for the 21st Century Grant, which I know the district has had in the past. When that comes out, we'll be able to apply for that as well and do a very similar plan for middle school and high school. And so we're very excited about these opportunities to support our learners outside of school time to bridge some of the gaps that we've experienced during this very challenging year.
Thank you, Dr. Mackay. And last but not least in my report, I just would like Mrs. Barris to give us a quick update, maybe in conjunction with Vivian, on your meeting and what we learned.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank Vivian and the students that she had spoken to and who participated in providing some feedback to me regarding issues around student engagement and, you know, some of the concerns that students had at this time. We had a great conversation, and I think we met last Thursday. And as a result of that conversation, when we had our administrative meeting this week, I had talked with Dr. Gogan and the other central office staff about re-implementing the some of the clubs and activities that students had been previously involved with. Part of what was shared was that, you know, the school day, you know, is all well and good, sometimes not so great because, you know, we're kind of looking at a screen, and the fact that students don't have a lot to look forward to basically at the end of the day, when the life of the school, those pieces of it are very important to students and to their development as they move forward. So we are moving forward with opening up clubs for the spring. We talked about some other ideas, which we can follow up with having conversations about other ways to facilitate some social interaction or some types of social gatherings, whether, you know, be through like Zoom or Google Meets or those kinds of things that would be helpful for students or appropriate for students. So we're going to circle back on those activities. And then the second piece that we spoke about was the outreach. So I did reach out to all of the counseling staff. We have a meeting set for this Friday, and that's going to be a district-wide counseling staff meeting. But in addition, I was able to sit in on the Bartlett guidance staff meeting this week. And one of the things that, you know, Vivian had brought up was the, you know, I asked how, you know, students might be able to report kind of how they're feeling and, you know, maybe to get some response from whoever's doing outreach at school, whether it's a counselor or a teacher. And there is a mechanism that they use. It's a weekly student assessment survey. And what I did learn is just like kind of the overall, like how they look at the survey results. So we talked about that because, you know, we talked about, well, you know, what would a different score mean, and how could that be helpful to, you know, for students who might really need somebody to kind of reach out and talk through issues with. So we're going to be discussing that again. Mrs. Nieves was also in that meeting, and we've asked that we sit down together and talk about, you know, the outreach. It shouldn't be just for the students that are reporting very, very low on the scale, but also, you know, maybe kind of are reporting middle of the road and they want, you know, they really need someone to reach out to them. So we're working on that together. And, you know, again, I think that this was very beneficial for me to be able to, you know, connect with students and really talk about kind of some of the issues that are going on. And I'm sure, Vivian, you can provide some additional information, you know, if you'd like to. And, you know, thank you again. It was really great meeting with you and speaking with you.
It was great speaking with you as well. It was just very refreshing to have the student voices heard and see that the concerns that I had brought up were actually like taken and positive stuff came from that. So thank you so much for meeting with me again.
Oh, you're welcome. So I don't know if there's any other questions, but go ahead, Dr. Gogan.
And that concludes my report.
Excuse me. I just want to say thank you to, excuse me one second. Sorry about that. To Mrs. Barris and to Vivian for participating in that discussion. You know, I know this year has been challenging for all of us, no matter what role we have with regard to education. And as a senior, I think that many of you never envisioned this to be your senior year. And being able to sit down and talk with somebody and feel understood and heard and have things moving in the right direction. I'm certain that many of these things maybe would have happened even if you all hadn't sat down, but sometimes that open communication really opens the door, and Vivian, as our sort of ambassador to the senior class and to Bartlett, is able to bring some of that positive energy back, I'm sure, to your peers. So thank you both, and for reporting back out. It's really refreshing to hear. Moving on, unless there are any other questions or comments from the committee. The next item on the agenda is the business manager's report. Good evening, Mrs. Carangeli.
Good evening. Hi, everybody. The first item on my agenda is the school building committee update. I am happy to tell you that we had a lengthy meeting on Thursday, February 18th. During that meeting, we had reports from our OPM.
You're on mute, Mo.
I was off. Okay, let's see that. Let's try it again. So I'm sorry you missed that exciting speech. It was really good. I'll try and replay it to the best of my abilities, but so we've been working really hard with our architects and our OPMs. We had a building committee meeting on February 18th, Thursday. It was about an hour and a half long, which in length, which was some really good information was shared. The OPM updated us. They are providing us with a schedule if we're on track with the project. They also give us a budget and any reports that they're submitting to the state. They're required to submit a monthly OPM report to the MSBA. I did drop those reports, and I'm going to try and get on a regular basis of dropping them in your packets. I did drop them in later this afternoon for you. The architect also gave a nice presentation. He spent a good hour talking about existing conditions. They're at the point where they're really trying to learn about our building, understand all the space, how we utilize that space pre-COVID, what programs we have, what rooms we operated, what spaces we used for storage, what spaces we didn't use. They're really trying to gain knowledge. They've had their surveyors and all of their consultants in from the outside to look at existing conditions. So we've seen architectural, we've looked at ADA, accessibility, kitchens, labs, civil and landscaping, structural engineers, fire protection engineers, plumbings, HVAC, electrical, telecommunications. They've been coming in and assessing the building on Fridays. They've been taking advantage of that time. They've been pulling Al, who's been fantastic on Fridays, taking them for tours, walking them, bringing them up on roofs, showing them penthouses, walking the grounds when necessary. They are looking at wetlands, the fields, and just really trying to gauge the current conditions of the high school, because as you remember, their goal is to come back with 3 plans. The MSBA has tasked them with coming up with an option. What if we just have to fix the roof, the shell of the building? What would it cost us if we were to do a renovation project? And what would it cost us to do a new project? So it's important for them to understand as much as they can about the high school and our programming and the conditions, so they can come back and give us good feedback. So they're in process working on that. It's going to be more and more detail over the next couple of months as they work through that and we start to enter into some early designs discussion. But it is actively moving forward. It's become very busy. And like Dr. Gogan said earlier on in the presentation, that we are working through our educational planning, which is really going to drive how we utilize the space in the high school and the vision of where we are going, and it'll help populate this project. So we are working diligently behind the scenes, meeting on a regular basis, and I will be trying to update our website, and I'm going to try and get a specific page just for building committee. So we are recording those meetings also, and I will try to get them up and posted so anybody can go back and look to see what work is being done. Because I think it's important to have community voice and keep the community aware as to how we're proceeding with the project. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Moving forward, next item I wanted to update you. Last meeting, I spoke about working on some contracts with other districts around. We've been working on gas, electrical for the district. Happy to say that we were able to, as a collaborative group, get some better pricing for our gas contract. So I did sign into a 2-year contract. Initially, when we were getting prices on our own, we were looking at an increase to our utility bills because we had signed in at such a low rate years ago. Working as a group, we were able to maintain that rate. Rates have gone up, but because of the large quantity of gas that we were going out to bid, we were able to lock in at the same rate. So we are not going to be seeing any gas price increases over the next 2 years. So I'm happy to say that was successful. Any questions in regards to the gas contract? No. And the third thing I wanted to talk about was the CARES funding. On the business office page on the website, there is a folder for FY22 and 21 budget. If you log into the 21 fiscal year, I have a sheet there that outlines what our CARES money and what we've been spending it on. Overall, we received 3 grants. The first grant was a remote learning grant, technology grant. That grant we originally applied, it was $167,000. We were awarded, it is a matching grant, so they award you so much and then the district has to pay the remaining balance. So we were awarded $91,890 and the district is responsible for 76 of that. Part of that matching funds, they said that we could use other CARES funds, the COVID relief funds, to use that as matching, understanding that a lot of the districts just didn't have that money sitting in their budgets. So it's a way to fund those projects. The COVID relief was awarded to us, and initially that was expiring on December 31st of 2020. That money was supposed to be spent. Much of that money was for IT, infrastructure and computers. It helped with food storage. The items are outlined there, but it totaled $450,000. They told us on December 28th, we didn't have to spend all the money and we were going to have it until June 30th. So we already had a lot of this money allocated, but there were certain things that, you know, we were, as we were coming down to the wire saying, trying to shift, you know, PPE or what can we buy that we didn't have to really purchase right away now, that we could hold off on a little bit, because as you know, storage can become a problem when you're having to buy all this stuff in bulk. So we're happy with that. And then the third one was the ESSER CARES money. That was used to help facilitate with staff or other needs, also PPE. For the district, that grant was in the amount of $594,975. Out of that grant, they allocated that like Title I funding. And initially they came out with guidance saying that we had to allocate so much of that money to parochial schools, and that was adjusted down the road. So I'm wondering if I'm getting myself confused now between that and the CARES grant. I don't think so. So that is right. They're all in my head and they're all spinning around. So they changed the regulations on that, and they stopped funding for the private schools out of that. There was some pushback. So that funding was, as of that point, whatever the private schools had spent could stay with them. We weren't going to ask it back, but moving forward, we were allowed to amend that money back into the public school resources. So we were able to allocate that towards PPE and additional services. That money extends into FY22. So that money we can use to help with maybe some compensatory services, additional PPE we may need, or hotspots or staffing. And that's how we've kind of been allocating that money. So we're in good shape. We're right on track with our spending. And we just wanted to make sure that we're being transparent with that CARES money. I know there's a lot of different pockets out there, and you know, they're looking to come out with some more additional CARES fund. But I think it's important for people to see how we're spending that money, what it looks like. And I have that sheet that I just outlined to you. It's up on the website. It's in the Office of Business Finance. If you pull up the FY21 folder, you will see it in there. So you can review, and I'm happy to answer any questions on that. Hearing none, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli.
You.
The next item on the agenda is the principal's report. Joining us tonight is Heidi Peterson, the principal of Webster Middle School. Good evening, Mrs. Peterson.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the Sandy Hook Promise. Sandy Hook Promise is a program that trains students and adults to recognize and report signs of violence. We have been working all year with this program. So earlier in the year, we had 9 staff members trained as signs of suicide trainers. And last week, those 9 staff members presented the signs of suicide to staff members. And then also to parents, we had 2 evening meetings. Parents were invited to via Zoom to view that presentation. We finished this week with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders presenting to the students. This occurred during their unified arts classes in the morning in order to perform a survey and call out any students who were in need of talking to guidance further. So that concluded today. In March, we have Say Something Week, which is sponsored by Sandy Hook Promise. Say Something Week encourages students to report and say something when they suspect their friends are in danger. We are going to be using the week of March 22nd as our Say Something Week, and the Student Council is leading this. The theme is actually going to be kindness. So we'll focus on kindness that week and have different activities that match that. Saturday before vacation, which was February 13th, the National Junior Honor Society had a food drive in conjunction with the Center of Hope. It was a drive-through food drive, so parents were invited to drop off items in boxes at the middle school on Saturday morning, and they actually collected over 800 items. So it's a super amount of items to collect in a drive-through drive like that. So congratulations to them for doing that. As you heard earlier, the basketball team has been underway. The middle school has been non-competitive, so they've been practicing basketball and competing with each other, scrimmages and co-ed games. So they are going to be culminating their activities this week and having a ceremony probably next week. We ended up with 7 girls and 15 boys. So it's a good amount of students participating in some extracurricular exercise. We are actually going to be halfway through our 3rd quarter at the end of the week, but I also want to recognize our honor roll students from 2nd quarter. So we had 49 eighth graders making honors or high honors for second quarter, 40 seventh graders, 65 sixth graders, and 52 fifth graders. So congratulations to all of those students who are working hard through this year. And then another positive, our staff attendance at halfway point in the year. We continue to have 9 staff members who have perfect attendance. So that is quite amazing in any year, but super spectacular in this kind of year where we have so much going on. In addition to our staff members, there are 6 members of the cafeteria staff who also have had perfect attendance. So I am not one of them, unfortunately. So congratulations to everyone for keeping healthy. That is my report this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? I'd like to congratulate those 9 staff with perfect attendance. It's been a really trying year, and the dedication shows. So congratulations to them, and also to the many honor roll students. That's a lot of students on honor roll and high honors. So congratulations to all of you on that as well. And thank you for your report. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is an update from our student representative, Vivian Poplowski. Good evening, Vivian.
Good evening. So for athletics, on February 10th, the boys basketball team hosted Uxbridge and won the game. And once again, congratulations to Brandon Boucher for becoming the 16th boys basketball player to enter the 1,000 point club. And on February 10th, the girls team traveled to Uxbridge and the JV girls won, but the varsity girls unfortunately lost in a very tough game. On February 11th, the boys team traveled to Uxbridge and won. And on February 11th, the girls varsity team hosted Uxbridge and came out with a big win. Vacation week for both programs was utilized as practice time. And the high school football opened up their fall 2 season with practice yesterday on Monday, February 22nd. And volleyball and high school cheerleaders will start practices on Monday, March 1st. And the middle school football and cheerleading will also be starting practices then on Monday, March 1st. For academics, Nichols Honors Academy held a meeting on February 12th with all the grades, so it's good to get everybody in there again. Just a student update, Student Council sponsored Khaki Tourist Day on on February 9th and February 11th for the 2 cohorts. And we appreciate everything that Student Council has done this year. They've put in a lot of work. The senior class song and class t-shirt forms were sent out on February 11th to gather suggestions before voting. And Music Boosters began their spring butter braid fundraiser with all the funds going to the music department. And if there are no other questions, then that's going to conclude my report tonight.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Vivian, I'd like to thank you not only for your report, but for your continued ambassadorship and advocacy on the part of your fellow students. And I know that you put in some extra work between meetings to help move your agenda forward. Did you have anything that you wanted to add about that, or did Ms. Ferris say everything that needed to be said?
Ms. Ferris said everything that I had in mind, but once again, I just wanted to thank the guidance department for taking our suggestions seriously and acting on the things that me and the other students in the meeting had brought up, and that the student body really appreciates all the work that you guys have done to try and accommodate for the different things that we bring up and the different problems we raise to your attention. And I believe that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in open and honest communication. And I think this was another example of you being able to be vulnerable and share the perspective, and no better person to share it with than Ms. Ferris. And it sounds like you guys have made a great team. So looking forward to more positive developments. Thank you for your update. The next item on the agenda under old business is the approval of the FY22 budget. Mrs. Perangeli.
Thank you, Mrs. Siddiqui. I'll make sure my volume is on this time. As you know, our town charter states that we have to send an approved budget down to the town administrator's office by the end of February. Um, Budget season is always an ongoing season, and usually they run later and later every year through the town as we collaboratively work through the process, and as state revenue numbers come in and we iron out the details right up till town meeting. There's going to be many more opportunities to take a look at our budget, including our upcoming, public forums that we have. And we will be working closely with the town accountant and town administrator as updates of revenue and budgets come in through the town. We have a meeting actually set up for tomorrow at 1 to review budgets and to talk about the overall town finances. And to get a better idea of where we're at, because I know the town is going to be going to finance committee to give them their first look at a budget on Monday. So with that being said, we presented to you budget tonight with some minor changes. It didn't affect the bottom line of the budget. That still remains at 5.14%. With a 1.15 increase, 1.15 million increase in overall budget. 5% sounds like a lot, but if you take a look at last year where we had a reduction by 0.5%, it really averages out to about 2.5% a year increase. We do understand that this is a working budget, it's a work in progress. And, we're always willing to sit and work with the community and the town on budgets. But it is going to be our recommendation at this point. And Dr. Gogan will talk a little bit more about the changes that we've made in the budget, working through this educational planning, taking a look at where we are now and the programs we want to offer. Adding a foreign language position at the middle school just didn't seem to make sense, and some changes to the schedule. So Dr. Gogan will go into those and explain a little bit more about class sizes. At this point, we will be making the recommendation to keep the bottom line the same. Dr. Gogan?
Sure, I will jump in there. We've been working through the educational visioning process and really looking at the system as a whole, how to prepare our students. And we kept coming back to STEM and the position that we were going to cut. We were going to cut one STEM at Webster Middle School and put a foreign language teacher in there. We've kind of come full circle. We believe we need to keep 2 STEMs at this point to prepare our students for the more hands-on engineering kind of programming that we're looking at building into Bartlett High School. So that's the one change that we have made for the budget that is sitting in front of you. I know that as we develop our educational visioning, we will be bringing forth other ideas, which may not impact next year's budget, but following budgets. So our conversations are pretty detailed on how to build strong programming K to 12. And that area of STEM is something that we really feel we need at the middle school. While we feel foreign language is important, I think down the line, foreign language really needs to be brought up at elementary school. It needs to be something that we look at an earlier age when kids' brains are developing, and we can build a stronger foreign language program that way. So that's the one change that we have. And one other comment is that we, as we're proceeding through this process, I think we find pride, Monique and I, in working collaboratively with the town of Webster on building a strong budget, being transparent with our community, why we need what we need. And the budget that we have presented really comes full circle to what Vivian's been talking about, putting in the supports that kids need, additional counselors, making sure that the programming makes sense for kids. So we feel pretty good about the budget that we have presented. And as we always do, this is a process. April 13th is our public hearing, and we will work together with you and the town to get through the budget process.
Thank you, Mrs. Brangely and Dr. Gogan. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion in 2 seconds. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, all of you. I know it was a group effort for the very difficult work, especially this year on the budgeting process and bringing in a lean budget that really considers everything. I know that you guys start from scratch and consider all possibilities before even bringing something to us. So we appreciate all of the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda under new business is the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding, Webster Educators Association School Year 21 to 22 calendar. Dr. Gogan.
Thank you. This is a memorandum of understanding for the school year calendar that you're going to see on a little bit later in the agenda. In the WEA contract, it states in Article 7 that the teacher's school year may not start any earlier than the Monday preceding Labor Day and end no later than June 30th. While we don't need the WEA's approval for any school year calendar, we do need their agreement to start the school year calendar earlier. And the school year calendar that is being presented later on in the agenda does start earlier, which would require a memorandum of understanding. And this memorandum of understanding has been ratified by the WEA Teachers Association. And I will go into the details on the calendar when we get to that on the agenda.
Are there any questions or comments, or do the committee members need more information in order to make a motion to approve it? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the MOU for the Webster Educators Association School Year 21 to 22 calendar.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of Memorandum of Understanding, Webster Educators Association 1-year agreement.
Thank you. This 1-year agreement is to extend the existing contract with the one salary change with giving our teachers a salary as noted in the agreement. I do want to set out by saying what we've all been repeatedly saying. It's been quite a year and everyone has put their best foot forward. A large, loud shout out goes to our teachers who have had to, on the fly, recreate what public education looks like and feels like for every single student across our nation by using blended learning. Certainly, there's been lots of bumps, and I will give another Webster Pride moment here. We, as one district, have really stood together during this crisis, and the strength of our people, each of us, has really shined through. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent and not the memorandum of understanding, but again, I think it's important that the unity across our district is recognized. And I want to thank our teachers for all their hard work. This memorandum of agreement is a 1-year extension to their collaborative bargaining agreement with a salary increase. And it has been ratified by the WEA. Mrs. Jeffers was not able to be here tonight, and on behalf of her and our team that negotiated, I will say that we are proud to work collaboratively together.
Thank you, Dr. Gogan. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding Webster Educators Association one-year agreement.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Gogan. I'm sorry, Chair Siddiqui.
No, thanks.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the memorandum of understanding Webster Cafeteria Workers one-year agreement. Dr. Gogan, is this you again?
It can be. Again, in front of you tonight is a one-year extension for the cafeteria workers to extend their agreement for 1 year with a salary adjustment. Our salary adjustment for our cafeteria workers will take in effect sooner rather than later. And that's to give a special shout out to them for their hard work and commitment to our students and families. We say it all the time and publicly recognize them for being the first people to step out in COVID in our district with masks on, with safety protocols, and role modeling how to follow our safety protocols. So we certainly love and support all of our cafeteria staff, our food service director. Everyone has worked really hard and they are well deserving of this increase and this one-year agreement. Mrs. Perangeli, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just couldn't agree with you more. I just want to thank them all for their hard work. Since we closed on March, they showed up every day to service our community above and beyond. They were out there in the rain and the snow and all kinds of weather, always with a smile on their face, greeting our community and being that extra level of support. So I thank them enough for their hard work, and I hope they know how much they're appreciated. You know, it's just well deserved.
Yeah, Mrs. Perangeli, I'd like to echo that. I know it's already been said twice, but I don't know that it can be said enough. They've been amazing. As a mom who's gone through the pickup line, picking up food for my kids, they always greet us with a smile and a positive, nice word to say, and no matter the weather, to your point as well. So big shout out to them. And also for the teachers, we already approved their MOU, but they're another group that have really rallied through all of this, and a big thank you to them as well. So all of that being said, are there any other questions or comments from the committee regarding the MOU for the cafeteria workers? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the MOU as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. The motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the 2021 to 2022 school calendar.
Thank you. In your packets, you have a detailed version of the school year calendar. This is a little different calendar. It's starting earlier than the days before Labor Day, as you approved the memorandum of understanding for the teachers. We'll start our new teacher orientation will be on August 24th. The district opening for our teachers across the district will be August 25th. We will have 2 professional days, as we usually do, August 26th and 27th. The first day of school for our students, grades 1 through 12, will be August 30th. The first day of pre-K and K will be September 7th. We will have our usual half days spread throughout the year. Those half days are for purposes of professional development for our teachers and staff. We have half-day parent-teacher conferences scheduled on November 17th. We have no school on January 18th or 25th for full-day professional development for our teachers and staff. Our December break will be a 2-week break from December 20th to through the 31st. February break will be February 21st through 25th. April break will be April 18th through 22nd. Bartlett High School graduation will be June 10th, and the last day of school will be a half day, and that will be on June 17th. Any questions about the proposed school year calendar for next year?
Two-week break around the holidays is a great thing. Maybe by then we'll be able to travel too, right?
Well, I think everybody's pretty excited about it, and that would give people the opportunity to travel and take a breather.
Yeah. Great. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the school year calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of a $5,000 donation from ExxonMobil.
The 500.
Okay, in the agenda it says 5,000, but noted. So the next item on the agenda is the acceptance of a $500 donation from ExxonMobil.
Sorry about that error.
That's
That
okay.
donation has come through to the middle school, and those funds will be used for math and science.
Great. Are there any questions or comments from the committee about the $500 donation from ExxonMobil? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the donation.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of 31 backpacks from It Starts at Home.
Once again, Jill St. Cyr and her organization is always keeping the Webster Public Schools in her mind. And she has donated 31 backpacks, brand new backpacks that have gone to the middle school and the high school, larger size backpacks. And we want to publicly thank her for her donation. And those have been distributed to our guidance counselors who are giving them to students.
That's great. They continue to come through for us and for our students. Are there any questions or comments from the committee about this donation? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the 31 backpacks from It Starts at Home.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the approval of job description, assistant cook.
I'm going to pass this to Mrs. Perangeli to ask her to speak about this.
We are updating some of our job descriptions as we go through and look at updating postings and looking for new positions and increased responsibility. So Ms. Nyland took a look and updated that to reflect the current position and what they're doing. So we will be looking for your approval.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee about this job description? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the assistant cook job description as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, could you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos, Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of reduction in community service graduation requirements. Dr. Gogan.
This is on the agenda from our last meeting. Mr. Thomas has asked that the school committee consider temporarily waiving the community service graduation requirements for the senior class. I know that I personally have heard from some parents who are anxiously waiting to relieve this kind of stressor on their students right now. And this would again be just for this year. And a school committee vote is required because it's in our student handbook, and it's an adjustment to the handbook.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dr.
Thomas, do you
Gogan.
want to add? Do you want to add anything?
Not unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? I think certainly the intention of having community service requirements for graduation from high school makes sense in a normal non-COVID world. But I can definitely appreciate the need to lift that requirement considering the unique circumstances we're facing this year. If there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the reduction. Is it a reduction or an elimination?
It would be a waiving that requirement this year.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to waive the typical community service graduation requirements.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is the review, transfer, signing of bills, payroll, and vouchers. Does anybody have any questions? There's two warrants in the packet tonight. No. So Mo, do you want to let us know who you need to see? You need me for the building warrant?
Yes, please. And then Sheila, could you please stop by for payrolls?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.